Hello and welcome to Mousecast. It's the podcast where the mind meets the magic. Hey, we are back. Hey, Matt. Hey, Megan. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well. I think Texas may actually turn the corner and join the rest of y'all in fall here. We're going to slip out of the 80s here in a day or two. It's going to be great.
No, you be careful what you wish for over
I mean,
there,
we're not going to
because
get
it
the
goes from
snow.
80s down to like 40s to what, Matt, 20s in a heartbeat. There, be careful
Yeah,
what
I
you wish
was gonna
for.
say 20s is a low, and 45 is a high today. So yeah, it's been
Yeah, could be a
heat wave.
little bit
I said
interesting.
I was
Could be a
joining in
little bit
fall, not
interesting.
in winter. So no, I'm not. I'm not interested in the winter piece.
This is fall.
It's
This isn't winter. This is fall.
Yeah, here we go. But you know what it also is? It's the third Tuesday of the night. And so guess what? It's time for Matt's Musings. Uh-oh, boys and girls. What's on Matt's mind tonight? So we
Rocks and
are
sticks.
going to see, all he's told us so far is it might deal with movies and it could deal with some attractions. And that's all we got. So with that, and again, folks, join along in the chat if you're watching with us. Matt, what are you musing about tonight?
All right. So tonight we're gonna kind of focus on Disney movies. It's gonna be the focus of where we go tonight in various aspects. So the first thing I was thinking about is some underrated movies. I got the idea from some recent videos about the new Disney cruise ship, and it looks like they include some movies that you don't usually hear about, talk about, Hercules, Brave, stuff like that. So I wanted to know if you guys can give me a couple of your underrated Disney movies. I want to do some spin-off
Underrated
movies.
Disney movies.
Yep.
The Sword and the Stone.
Love that
Absolutely
film.
one of my favorites. It's hysterically funny. They're really great. It's one of those, I mean, all Disney movies, when you watch them as an adult, you realize they're all really brainy and they have lots of lines for adults and lots of um, mentions of things that, kids have no idea about. But Sword in the Stone, classic, love it, great villain. Love Sword in the Stone.
And so Tom has said that he comes in and he says Robin Hood. And it's funny because, Tom, that was actually one of the ones I was thinking about as well, is Robin Hood, because I love that film. I love the music to it. Little known tidbit there in the kind of the aftermath of the whole archery tournament scene. The USC fight song is actually featured, and I think also maybe Michigan or Notre Dame is also featured in that particular bit. But for you Trojans out there, the USC fight song is in Robin Hood. But it has just it's a fun movie. It's a great movie. Interestingly enough, as we approach the holiday season, go back and watch Mickey's Christmas Carol and see how many characters from Robin Hood are in Mickey's Christmas Carol as well. So it has a lot of great characters. Mark Jones is with us tonight. It's Matt's Musings. He says, hello, everyone. Hi, Mark. Glad to be with you and glad to have you with us tonight. And so, for an underrated movie, I'm going to kind of go in a little bit of a different direction, and I'm going to say Tron. Not Tron Legacy, not Tron Ares, although I did see Tron Ares very recently, and it's okay. But Tron the original, and I say that because it didn't do very well at the box office, but it was very groundbreaking and revolutionary in what it did for 3D animation or digital animation, frankly, in the 1980s. And so for me, it's Tron. I really got into Tron. I love Tron. I'm hoping that the Tron world continues, even with Ares not being as successful as Disney had hoped. But Tron. Also, folks, be sure to chat out, and in yours, what are some of your responses to some of Matt's musings? And he says underrated movies. So Matt, what is your underrated film?
So one of mine is one I already just mentioned is Hercules. I feel like it's a very underrated movie. It doesn't get enough credit. It's got great action. It's funny. You have a different kind of villain in Hades where it's not, it's sinister a little bit, but it's also a very comedic villain, which, back in the day you didn't really see. It was very dark and mischievous and stuff like that.
And two of the best villain sidekicks, I must add, too.
Pain and Panic. Yep, absolutely. So right up there. And I feel like it just doesn't get enough representation kind of anywhere, which kind of leads me into my next kind of spin-off off of this question is, so based on these movies that we kind of mentioned, how do you think that Disney could incorporate these into the park some more? We already have the Tron ride, so that one's kind of out for you, Chuck. But
yeah, but I mean, you could actually incorporate Tron in some other ways as well. Frankly, we'll go back to a previous show, I think it was 2 weeks ago that we did, talking about unused spaces at Walt Disney World. Possibly. Oh, and Mark Jones says, Kaylin says Atlantis, that's a really, really good film. That does not get as much attention and joy as I think it should. It's a great concept film. Go ahead, Megan.
I haven't seen Atlantis in a really long time, but my favorite character in that movie is the old lady, and all she ever says is like, "We're all gonna die." And she's just like, she's phenomenal.
I think her name is Marge, if I'm not mistaken, but
love her.
She is hilarious.
Again. I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, Mark Jones also says Treasure Planet, a very underrated film as well. It's a good movie.
In that same realm of time, right? During that same kind of era with Disney, when people had kind of, we'd all kind of gotten a little like annoyed with Disney and the way that they were making movies, and none of their movies were as good as what they eventually came back to when Frozen came out, no, Frozen wasn't first. It was what, Princess and the Frog got them going again? I don't remember.
Princess and the Frog, which, interestingly enough, is the very last movie that is hand-drawn animation, old style, on paper and everything like that. After that, it went completely digital. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Treasure Planet and Atlantis both fall into that bucket of like the lost era of Disney, because there were some really... There were some interesting films, but then there were also some I think kind of those little sleepers like Atlantis. I thought Atlantis was a fun film and a good story. But back to Matt's next bit here. So where we were talking, I think 2 weeks ago, about unused spaces at Walt Disney World, where we were talking about what to do with Stitch's Great Escape. If you didn't do, we originally said, oh, hey, a great idea to do a Blue Sky Center. But if you didn't do that, that theater in the round would be a great way to do something with the grid, that you all get transported and teleported into the grid, into the world of Tron. So that would be an interesting way to bring Tron into the parks in another way. So and to Tom, who said Robin Hood, of course we have Robin Hood in the parks there. Or Christian, I'm sorry, not Robin Hood, but Sword in the Stone that Megan said, we have literally the Sword in the Stone that is there in Fantasyland. So, Megan, where else would you put Sword in the Stone? I would love to see it. It doesn't really fit. It fits the theater where Stitch was, but it doesn't fit Tomorrowland. I'd love to see Merlin and Archimedes do like a magician show, a magic show of some kind. I think that would fit really well, but it would fit in Fantasyland, and there's not too much space in Fantasyland. I've talked about before, I would love to see Madame Mim as part of Villains Land. I would love to see her, again, that levity that she has. I think some of those villains, Madame Mim, Hades, Yzma, you're going to need some of those witty, funny
the comedic villains.
Yeah. They can't all just be the dark queens of ages gone by.
Now, interestingly enough, if I remember correctly, Merlin actually was in the Magic Kingdom at one point, and a good friend to many a Disney podcaster, God rest his soul, Jim Korkus, who passed away, he's been a couple of years ago now, is a very well-known Disney historian. If memory serves, and somebody, if you know differently, put out in the chat and correct me if I'm wrong, but if memory serves, he actually played Merlin in Fantasyland. This would have been way, way back in like the 90s. Or into the early 2000s, that he actually did play Merlin. I don't know if it was necessarily the Sword in the Stone version of Merlin, or if it was just a Merlin. But if memory serves, there was a live Merlin character in Fantasyland, and I do think it was tied with the actual sword, the physical Sword in the Stone that's right by King Stephen's carousel. So let's see here, Matt. You had said Hercules. How would you put Hercules in the parks?
All right, so here's what I'm doing. If Indiana Jones is getting another ride over in Animal Kingdom, I'm getting rid of the show over in Hollywood Studios, and I'm putting in a Hercules show. I think you could kind of like get this, a small version of the story, condense it down, and kind of get a show out of that. Between
Now, by the way, show you're referring to the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Just update it. I think the story itself lends itself to a show like you have the Beauty and the Beast show. You kind of have like the Frozen sing along that kind of tells the story of Frozen.
The Muses could host that, and it would be glorious.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
That would be fantastic. I mean, between that, and then you've got, like I said, you've got Hades with all the different, you'd be literally making an arena, like an old school Coliseum feeling and stuff like that, and just tell the story that way.
That actually really would be cool, because you could do the whole arena thing, and you could have Phil kind of being there on the side training Hercules and stuff like that. That could be really, really cool. Mark says he is very sad to say that he has never watched the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular.
Me neither,
Mark Jones.
I love it, but it's nostalgic for me. It's Matt, you can't take it out without having seen it. You can't remove it from the park.
Once again, if Indiana's taking my dinosaur ride, then you know what I'm taking a stunt show. All right.
Oh, Matt's getting even here.
For Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but that would be kind of cool. A Hercules attraction show, kind of almost like a Hercules stunt, because you could do the stunt kind of concept with Hercules pretty well. That would work.
Instead of getting run over by the ball, he's like lifting stuff.
Yeah.
So and then another
that actually would
movie
work
that I thought of. Speaking of stunt shows and stuff like that, another movie I thought of was Tarzan. Originally, like everybody knows it for the music, but the actual story in the movie, I feel like this gets overlooked. And I thought about replacing the Finding Nemo show over at Animal Kingdom. And you can kind of do like something similar to the Lion King show with Tarzan, like bouncing to the trees.
There already is Tarzan on Broadway. Like did you know that? There was a Broadway Tarzan. Yes, there was.
I knew that. Yeah.
There was, and Phil Collins actually created the Broadway music for it. So, check out your favorite music feeds. You will actually find the Tarzan Broadway show. It did not have a huge long run on Broadway, sadly, but there's a lot more music to the show than there is in the original movie, and it's really actually a great production. So there's already source material to do that, and of course we also have Tarzan's Treehouse over in Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Which is Disney World is still called the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse.
Right.
But it is essentially the same thing. They just kind of rethemed it over to Tarzan.
It's another one of my underrated movies is Swiss Family Robinson. I watched that a ton as a kid. I loved that movie as a kid. Loved it.
Going old school. Yes,
very old school. So old school that everybody that sees that attraction is like, I don't even know what this is. Like they stuck a random name on some treehouse, and I don't, it confuses me as to what of all the attractions that are still around, the Swiss Family Treehouse is the one that confuses me the most. There are other things we could do with that space at this point. Turn it into Tarzan, whatever. But I loved that movie as a kid too.
And I also say it has one of my probably top 5 favorite hidden Mickeys in that attraction at Walt Disney World, Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. So, all right, Matt, what's your next musing?
So we're going to kind of transition. We talked about Broadway, so now we're going to talk about one of everybody's favorite things, and that's Disney's live action remakes. Because we love those so much.
And for those who saw on the socials, what was it, just yesterday, I believe it was, that, or maybe it was today, the first teaser from Moana came out. So speaking of live action remakes.
So we'll kind of start off easy. What's your least favorite live action remake, and what was your favorite remake?
I thought you said easy, because least favorite live action remake, I'm saying just about every single one of them. There is not one that I have been like, oh my God, this was so good. I have yet to see a live action remake that
I think Beauty and the Beast has been the
really
closest,
Beauty
right?
and the
That's
Beast
the
maybe
one-
comes closest. I'm with you. Maybe Beauty and the Beast comes closest, but and the only
the
reason I'll
actual,
say
like,
Beauty and the
telling the
Beast comes
story.
closest is because it expanded upon the movie, that we have additional songs, we have additional character elements that we have added to Beast, that was not included in the film. But so I would say
I think
outside of that,
it gave more of like
yeah.
a dark presence, like almost just like if you watch the animated movie, it's a little like it can be a little too bright and stuff like that. To me, like the live action brought more of like a dark like feeling to the story itself, which I kind of
and it brought,
enjoyed.
I think, an additional level of sadness and I don't know if it's remorse or just general moroseness to the Beast. You really got a sense of how just depressed and down and dark he was, that we didn't see in the film for obvious reasons, because one, there wasn't enough screen time, and two, they were focusing much more on Belle than they were Beast. But so that might be the one that I will lift up as probably maybe one of the better examples. Outside of that,
They've all been pretty bad. I think
I will give one other challenge. I will say maybe, and Mark Jones is saying what I'm going to say is, where's the creativity gone? Why all the remakes? And Mark says Snow White was by far the best of being terrible. And I will, here's the answer, is that I really can't answer it. And that's because I haven't seen many of them. I think I've only seen a handful of them. I've seen Mulan, and Mulan was okay, but I almost don't consider that a remake, because it was a whole different story.
there's no Mushu. I'm sorry. If Mushu's not there, this isn't Mulan.
Yeah, there was no Mushu.
Like, forget it. I'm out.
But there was no, the story was completely different. With Mulan, it wasn't a remake, it was a reboot completely. But I still, look, as much as you guys know how much I love Lion King, I've yet to see the live action and have no interest in seeing it.
It's
That's
okay.
how I've felt for a lot of them. I think for me, one of the ones that felt like the biggest disappointment, I think it's because of how much I love the animated version, was Cinderella. I was so disappointed
Which
by
version?
that movie. And I mean, that was the one, oh, I don't even remember her name. I don't know. She's on the front of that poster. She's got blonde hair. She played in Downton Abbey really briefly. I do not remember her name right now, but there was just, it was literally just like the straight across the board. It was right after, I want to say that was the first live action after Maleficent, maybe, which is also terrible, but not a, not a
So
live
Maleficent's a little bit different in the fact that I don't consider it a live action remake, only
Right.
because
the villain stories aren't, because Cruella's the same way. I think
Right.
Cruella's great.
I thought Cruella was fine. I thought Maleficent 1 was okay. I thought it was a decent story, that we see a whole different side of Maleficent than we would have known, that, hey, it's actually King Stefan that's the real enemy or the real villain here. And then Cruella was delicious. I mean, she was just, the way that was played, it was just a delicious origin story for her. It was fun.
I am going to stick to my comment that I made. This is probably at least a year ago now, that I don't think we should have villain origin stories, because these are they're fake. Y'all, they're fictional characters. It doesn't matter that they're bad. They were created to be evil. Just let them be evil. I don't need their sob story. I think that was part of my problem. Maleficent's my favorite villain. And so to have her like sob story, I don't want that. I want her to be evil. I want her to be petty enough to go to a child's birthday party. Like, come on. I love that. So
just let him be evil,
Exactly. Let them be bad. Why do we have to? I don't need to feel empathy for them. Please.
It's
All
funny
right.
you mentioned it, talking about Beauty and the Beast and stuff like that. My wife actually called me yesterday while I was at work, because she and my daughter were debating who the villain was in Beauty and the Beast.
In the
love that
animated
that's
version or in the live action
big
version?
enough.
Either one.
Either one. Okay.
I
So,
love that
my
that's
daughter
like
said
a
it was the
midday. We got to
Beast.
call Dad and get him to sort this out. That's great.
Well, yeah, it was quite comical, and I actually had to think about it, because I'm just like, well, the Beast is being portrayed kind of as a villain, but he's not really the villain. He's more of like just he's not really a hero either. He's kind of like a sympathy character in a way. My wife's like, "Oh, Gaston's the villain." I'm just like, "Yeah, I can see it to an extent, but I'm just like, I feel like there really is no."
I don't think there's a villain. I think there are villains. I think the Beast is a villain. He's not a good guy at the beginning. He got what was coming to him. I'm sorry. I mean, he kidnapped Maurice. He's holding him there. That makes him a villain. But Gaston is most definitely a villain as well, because this whole idea, like, I'm going to force her to marry me regardless. Again, that's not going to fly. I think we love the Beast because of how it ends, but he definitely starts out as a villain. My son is fascinated right now by, when we talk about movies, Disney movies, he'll talk about whether or not the bad guy is still a bad guy at the end of the movie, because there are Disney movies where our bad guys transform and become good guys, and the Beast is a prime example of that he's not a good guy at the beginning, but our hero or heroine transforms him and softens him, and he becomes something that we love in the end, except for that long hair that he had as a human, which was not attractive.
So for folks, just if you're watching, apparently there are some issues with Facebook right now. We're trying to get back live on Facebook, but also you can join us over on our YouTube page, where YouTube is going okay, but we are having some issues right now streaming live to Facebook. I'm not sure why, but we're trying to get back up. All right, Matt, what else are we musing about?
Well, real quick, Chuck, Mark made a comment about what's worse than the true live action are these, computer generated, all the
yeah,
CGI,
definitely. Which,
again, is it really live action if it's really all CGI? And yeah, the Jungle Book, I never saw it. I probably won't. Oh no, that one definitely held no appeal.
No. Give me the animated version. Give me Baloo all day. So just like my least favorite live action is Aladdin, because I think Will Smith did a terrible job. I'm sorry. I'm a big Robin Williams person, and I just no. I could have picked a handful of other people to play the genie other than Will Smith. I think he killed the character. So I enjoyed that movie,
but I think I disassociated. I went in going, okay, they're calling this Aladdin, but this is not really Aladdin. This is somebody else.
They should have called it Jasmine. Because I feel like they completely flipped the story on that one as well, and kind of twisted on her.
Yeah, I wasn't wild about that part of the way that they took artistic license there, but yeah. Basically, the problem is that they're all problematic. Go back and see the originals. It's like the book always being better than the movie. The original is always better than the remake, whether it's live action or not. Go back and watch the originals, everybody.
So, since Disney does such a great job with these live actions, is there any movies that you think should get, or do you think, okay, what animated movies lend themselves to a live action movie that you might actually go see if Disney doesn't mess it up?
I may go see Moana. I'm kind of looking forward to this one. I'm not completely sure how they're going to pull it off, but I'm intrigued by Moana.
I haven't seen it yet, but Lilo and Stitch might be okay. I haven't.
That one it was pretty good.
I've heard that it might be all right, just because the Stitch character lends itself to that particular CGI kind of thing like that. I'm not sure.
Very far from the story in that, so that's
that's the thing. I mean, they did stray a little bit towards the tail end, but yeah, that's the other major thing. If you're gonna do a remake, you got to stick to the story. This is not a time to reimagine the story, because all you're going to get is folks that are going to be upset because it's not what it was supposed to be. They're expecting to see the story. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what would be a good one. Maybe
I'm going back to Hercules.
Are you? Well, Hercules might be bad. Might not be a bad one to do. Yeah.
Between that or Tangled.
Tangled could be interesting. I kind of went all of a sudden to Big Hero 6.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of make a live action version of Big Hero 6, because I think that would work. It's close enough to Avengers and all of that so that there's a believable live action environment to live in. So it might work.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie in a while, but I didn't think of that one.
I think they just need to stay away from the movies that are anchored by animal characters. Because you can't, if you're going to do a live action remake, your main characters need to be actual people. The Incredibles would be awesome.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, The Incredibles would be cool.
I'm gonna bring them up in another
That would be a
question
really
and
good
stuff.
one.
You could, Marvelize the Incredibles and do, something on a huge scale there. That'd be great.
All right,
Yeah,
so
that one
since we
could
love
be.
our live actions, we also love our sequels and our Toy Story 20s and our
coming.
Frozen 10s and whatever else we're on right now. So, is there a movie or movies like a franchise that you would like to actually see a sequel based on where everything left off? And I'll kind of start with this one. We talked about The Incredibles. I think another Incredibles movie, I know it's been talked about, but I would like to see another Incredibles movie, but where the kids are more grown up. And Mr. and Mrs. Incredible, some of the old, and Frozone are like older. And then it's up to that kind of storyline. Like,
Oh, like they're
Jack-
losing control of their powers because as they're getting older, like the kids have to step that.
Exactly. Like, Violet's in high school, Jack's like, 6 or 7 and still like, trying to get the full grasp of his powers and stuff like that, but he's able to talk.
Yeah, Tom agrees. The Incredible.
Stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to, I think that lends itself to, I know there's already 1 and 2, but I just feel like The Incredibles, like both movies just haven't let me down yet.
Yeah, Mark Jones says he just wants some good new ideas. No need to rehash stories we already know. Part of a great movie is the plot twists and surprises. Remakes lack that. And Mark, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Everybody cannot wait for Toy Story 5 to come out. Sorry, I mean, just like going. Yeah, Mark also says that would be a good sequel showing the Incredibles growing up, and I think that would be kind of an interesting way to go. Here's the thing: is that Disney. Let's be honest, they don't do all that many original stories, but they do find good stories from elsewhere. I mean, we go look at some of the classics. Snow White, that was not an original story. Little Mermaid is not an original story. Frozen is not an original story. So, but what they've done is they've taken classic stories from classic, writers and Grimm's fairy tales and all these other places, and have then turned around and made them into good Disney style movies. So I think that's what Disney needs to get back to, is going and finding that source material.
Yes.
And then starting to bring it into the visual realm. And there are some great, short stories and books out there and all this that they can turn around and work on. The danger is, as with all things, is that we're going to try to do something new, and that's taking a risk. Versus, hey, we're just gonna go with what we know. That's how we get Toy Story 5.
Dead horse.
Right, and Mark is there, but Disney put their twist on classic tales. That's different than making Simba a bad CGI character. Exactly, and that's the point. We don't want to take that original creativity. Disney can make a great animated character. They really can, but they need the story to go along with it. And trying to advance a story and doing a bad CGI character, because they're trying to do it on the cheap and do it inefficiently. And I understand they're trying to make money and all that kind of stuff, but there's a balance. Walt Disney was very much we're going to spend the money because that's the quality we want, and that may not be exactly where others are.
Yes. Well, creativity, finances be damned, and now his company has flipped. Or it sometimes feels like it has. But yes, they need to go back, read. There's still some Shakespeare that they haven't done. I mean, Lion King, again, not an original. Very straight up adaptation of Shakespeare. But yeah, just done really well. And the music, I mean, they've got a great knack for finding, there was all the music back in the 90s. We transitioned. Phil Collins was a big hit. Lin-Manuel Miranda obviously has stepped into the void here in the last few years. they can find the people to do the music. Oh, give us something new. Give us something good.
I know. Mark Jones, by the way, says, "Hey, another underrated movie, Bolt." And it was a fun story.
It was a good movie.
It was a good movie. It's a fun story. Speaking of a superhero movie that the superhero isn't a superhero, it's a fun. If you've ever seen it, it's good to go see because it in some ways is a spoof on the superhero genre as well. And so, yep. All right, what's your next musing, Matt?
All right. So this one will be kind of quick, possibly. So we were kind of talking about underrated movies tonight and how we like to see them being incorporated. How about as far as a restaurant? Is there a restaurant you could replace somewhere in Disney World with an underrated film?
A restaurant that we would replace with an underrated film. A current restaurant.
Correct.
That's different. All right.
You want to know what's going through my mind today, and that's what was going through my mind. So good luck, everybody.
Yeah, well, no. So this is an interesting one. So and folks, if you're watching, again, we're still trying to. If you're on the watching us on Facebook, I've shared a link to another Facebook feed that is coming from another source. Facebook is still giving us some grief tonight on the Mousecast Facebook page, but you can also, of course, watch us on YouTube, and we've got folks that are with us on YouTube right now. I know where the restaurant is, and I'm trying to think about what I would put in there. I'm replacing Rainforest Cafe at Animal Kingdom. Now, the question is, what am I putting in there with an underrated film? It ain't going to be Tron. I can tell you that.
You don't think Tron fits in Animal Kingdom, really, Chuck?
No, don't.
It's a natural fit.
See, I'm not going to be like that, where I'm going to put that star-shaped peg into a triangle hole. That's not happening. But, I think that's okay. I'm limited by the fact that you're saying underrated movies, because this is not an underrated movie, but I think it would be perfect. All right,
take the underrated out of it. I'll switch up the question then. Yeah. Let's go with a restaurant you would replace. Okay, so the movie has to be something that isn't really represented in the parks.
Not yet, but it's Encanto. I'm making an Encanto restaurant right there because it's coming. And so, therefore, it's not represented in the parks yet, but it will be. Although there are meet and greets. I mean, we can claim that there are some meet and greets. But I would do that. So Mark Jones says there's a big empty space in the back of Morocco that would be a great Aladdin-themed restaurant. The empty space in the back of Morocco is like the back 2/3 of the Morocco Pavilion right now. There's not much, sadly, going on the Morocco Pavilion right now. So, yes, that's another awesome place, speaking of unused spaces at Walt Disney World, to do an Aladdin-themed restaurant. You could definitely do a whole lot with that particular area. You also, frankly, going to Villains, you can also turn that more into something like a Jafar and Villains related restaurant. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go with, the heroes here. So
I think I would make I don't know that I would completely scrap one of the restaurants, but people clamor for Coco in the parks. We have Coco at Disneyland, but we don't have Coco at Disney World. I would take one of the restaurants. There are 2 sit downs and a quick service in the Mexico Pavilion at Epcot, and I would retheme one of those for Coco. And maybe even have it be a meet and greet. I would retheme and do something on that end. You've got 3 opportunities there. Pick one and give us Coco.
Yeah, I think La Hacienda would probably be best because it's a little bit bigger. San Angel Inn is still very much tied to Gran Fiesta Tour. Mark Jones also says, speaking back to Morocco, you could tie it back to Indiana Jones. Morocco fits there too. Yes, you could. You could definitely do an Indiana Jones themed restaurant. But I think La Hacienda probably would be better. Plus, you also, for the meet and greet, so that space as you're walking by La Hacienda, that currently they do the what is it, Kobayashi,
Mhm.
the
Yep.
I forget the name of it.
Yeah, I don't remember what they're called.
It's the performers over there. Um, that all that on the far left side. That would be great to turn right around and do a Coco meet and greet. And then you could also do it, frankly, as a character dining. You forget about even the meet and greet. Do it as a character dining experience. Because that's another thing that I think Epcot could really be beneficial for Epcot is some character dining that is logical character dining.
Yes.
All right, Matt,
So
what would you do?
I'm still struggling with this one. I thought about replacing Tusker House with like a Lion King kind of themed, but I just don't know how you would really necessarily do it.
The way you could get away with that, you would have to have.
You'd almost
In
kind
some
of
way,
take, was it Toothless, almost like from Universal?
Yeah, that was good. That's where I was going. You'd almost have to do that type of approach, and the guests have to come to the audio animatronic, then the audio animatronic coming to the guest.
Well, like you do with the Evil Queen over at Storybook Dining.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could do that.
Over at Magic Kingdom too. You went to, at least when I.
Well, yeah. So like at Cinderella's Royal Table, there is the throne room, and so you go to Cinderella into the throne room.
Yeah.
And then there are other princesses that circle around, up top, and you could have other Lion King characters that circle around. You could have Rafiki and Timon, those that are mobile, face or mask characters that could do that. So that would be kind of interesting to, replace Tusker House. Again, because Tusker House already is a character meet and greet for breakfast. You have Mickey and Company over there.
They used to do dinner as well, I think, because I think I went there for dinner and there was.
Yeah, I think for a while they did. It is no longer, to my knowledge, it is no longer a dinner character experience. It's just breakfast now. Yeah, it's just breakfast. So.
I'm with Mark here. Pecos
Oh, yeah. Okay. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Jones has just rattled Pandora's box because here we go. Not only does Pecos Bills need a major overhaul, but also Tortuga Tavern needs a major overhaul. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago on unused spaces in the Magic Kingdom. A Cars-themed Cajun restaurant serving Western food could be interesting. Remember that this is Pikes Peak, so I don't know if it's Cajun that you would do, because this is much more mountainous, and again, it's the theme of the
like
Cars land.
Midwestern,
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. I mean, you could get back to a really true, honest Tex-Mex, maybe, or you could go barbecuey. You could definitely go be a barbecuey, though.
I was going to say, Tiana's is right next door. You could go Disneyland route and do Tiana.
Yeah, Tiana's is right next door, and you could go. That's true. I mean, Tiana's is right next door. You're right. I mean, that is very, very true.
Even with the kind of that intersection of Cars coming in and Tiana, as we've talked about, the Tiana ride is not classic Tiana. That's a whole new storyline. So even the food there would look different than you did like if you did a classical Tiana restaurant. So you could incorporate Cars and Tiana, kind of play with both of those and where they fit.
Yeah, and I think to Mark's point, that's just what he said. That whole area, as he says, has lost its identity. It's a crazy crossroads, and I agree. That's, I think, unfortunately, some of the challenge that we're having right now with that space, and by bringing Cars into what was the island there, Tom Sawyer's Island. I think it's created an identity crisis where, had they done what we've talked about on Mousecast for many an episode, is use the island and let that start to be the transition to Villain's Land, I think you could have maintained some continuity there, maybe a little bit better. But yeah, Tiana's being right next door, you could definitely get away with some Cars Cajun, and that could lend itself to some fun twists on food. I mean, think of, what would be a Cars version of a crawdad. I mean, that could be kind of funny. So, there could be some very interesting things to, what's a Cars version of jambalaya? That could be Definitely. Mark says, do you think Frontierland is slowly fading out, and what anchors it now? That's a good point. Where is the frontier in Frontierland now?
So I was thinking about this because we're talking about cars coming in. We could take Pecos Bill, but they just updated the Country Bear Jamboree. Disney seems protective of some of the space, and I'm kind of confused as to why at this point. I mean, you just took out Rivers of America. Like nothing, there's really nothing in that entire park that's quote unquote sacred at this point, right? That should be untouchable. So because you're rolling out cars, do we need to just kind of raise the whole thing and start over again?
Well, or is it time to kind of rebrand? Is this Frontierland anymore? Or is this something else?
I think they missed the mark on this with Pikes Peak. I get not wanting the cookie cutter, Radiator Springs, but I think like between that and like Tiana's, you have like you're thinking New Orleans with Tiana's and stuff like that, like the south there, and then you go in a little bit more north of Route 66 and traveling the country with cars and stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Mark just said maybe it could
Frontier.
transform into a Route 66 style area. Yeah.
So I think it lends itself, like Frontierland could be reshaped, but I don't think the Pikes Peak kind of like really what we've seen kind of lends itself to a little bit of like a frontier.
I wonder if you
that particular section, like the storefronts, the Country Bears, all that kind of stuff. It needs an overhaul.
So what if we go back to old Walt Disney World? What was the Big Thunder Mountain originally supposed to be?
No clue.
It was supposed to be the Western River Expedition. So maybe instead of Frontierland, is it Western Land? Because that now opens up pretty much everything west of the Mississippi. What's that?
Because that rolls off the tongue. We're going over to Western Land. How many people can you offend with that?
Could be worse. Could be Potato Land, but that's another story. Come on, for those of you who love a good Mickey Mouse joke, it could be Potato Land. That's my best Goofy I've got. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark really just hit it on the head. The whole area is, you stare at it and you go, what exactly are we doing here? What's the point? What's the story? Because Disney's supposed to be telling us stories. And I mean, we've touched on this before. It definitely feels like Disney's telling stories within, the little land that they're building. Like the Cars land section will tell a story about cars. Tiana's ride tells a Tiana story. But when you look at it cohesively, there's not really much cohesion moving around the park anymore. And that's Magic Kingdom is just one. We've talked Hollywood Studios. We've talked ad nauseum. It's this weird kind of amalgamation of a bunch of things, which is kind of unfortunate that our storytelling falls apart. Movies, we've got way too many remakes. I don't need Toy Story 5. And then the parks, we're just kind of, where do we have space? What can we get rid of to plop in this new thing?
Well, and I'm hopeful that I'm the positive guy here, that maybe there is a greater method to the madness than maybe what we're seeing currently. And I suspect that there probably is, but and who knows? It may be that we will find that Pikes Peak fits into Frontierland a little bit more than maybe what we think right now. Again, we have only some concept art right now, so as we get into it, it may be that it does fit more truly into Frontierland than we necessarily have right now. So, and Mark says maybe this is the way they are slowly pulling off the Band-Aid for an elimination of an original land for something and new and better culturally. And it could be it. The whole idea of the frontier is kind of an old concept now. I mean, there is no frontier of the traditional, Western frontier like there was back in the 1950s when Disneyland was first created. So maybe this is Mark saying they're pulling off the Band-Aid to change it to something else that fits a little bit better. This has, by the way, we appreciate Matt for all of these musings that have been going on tonight. I want to say a huge thank you to Mark and Tom, who also joined us as well in the chat. If you are listening to us, hey, share out the fact on social media that you have been watching Mousecast. We do this live every Tuesday night here on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. Folks, coming up next week, guys, it's episode 100. And it's game night to boot. So what could be better? A game night and an episode 100 of Mousecast.
I love winning things when it's 100. You can give me $100 when I beat y'all next week. Is that what's happening here?
Absolutely, $100, Megan. Can you loan me $100 first, and then we'll give you $100. So coming up next week, it is episode 100 of Mousecast. It will also be game night. So what could be better? You definitely don't want to miss it. So share out the fact that you've been joining Mousecast, and we want to thank you for being with us this week and every week. Again, we do this live every Tuesday night here at 8:30 on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. This is Mousecast, the podcast where the mind meets the magic. And so until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you for listening to Mousecast. We appreciate the time you share with us. And tonight was a very fun show. And joining us is a must. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's time.